next month, okay?
Okay, so I'm actually going to put you down for next month.
That's okay. Okay.
I wanted to kind of try
I also did it for Parks and Cultural Affairs. I mean, for Public Safety last month, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's, everybody doesn't have to be on it all the time. I just
Right.
like to spread the love. And,
Oh, yeah.
And
Spread the ink, yes.
Particularly given that we're not called to order yet, since we don't yet have quorum, I feel like spending the time on this bit of housekeeping is a good plan. Sally, am I remembering correctly that you agreed to take minutes, or am I making that up?
I think you're making it up, but I would be happy to.
Okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I totally can't remember what we talked about. Okay, so Sally's taking them for.
So there's 4 of us here, right?
Yeah, there's we got Jamirna, Sally, me, and Barbara. Yes.
Who's Daniel Sullivan?
He's with Parks.
Okay.
And Jamirna, since you're new, I'm not going to put you on the spot for taking minutes yet. You get a bye until like after the summer break, and then I'm going to start leaning on you in the fall. But I feel like, it takes a few months to remember who everybody is, what all the parks are called, how everything is spelled, what the organizations are, and asking somebody to like take minutes when they're still like, wait, what's your name? That's just too much. Everybody gets a learning curve there.
Also, it's on YouTube. If you get a little overwhelmed, you always can listen to the tape.
Yes. Although I personally really feel like, once you've been through the meeting once, it's kind of enough. But yeah. All right. I'm going to give it another couple of minutes, and hopefully we will have the other people coming in. Did you, Paola, did you hear from anybody that they are not able to attend?
No, not for your meeting, no.
Okay. I'm just gonna shoot a quick text to some of our, Noble says he's running late. He's got kid issues, so he should be along presently. And who else is on this committee? Etta?
Daniel Bonilla,
and Danny. Okay.
Is Daniel Bonilla on the committee?
Yeah, Danny's on the committee.
Okay.
And we also have Alexis and Naima, our public members, who do count for quorum. Okay, I think Etta will be hopping on in a moment. So I think we need one more for, 2 more for quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobles, Danny, Etta, that's 7, 8, 9, 5. No, we only need 1 more for quorum.
Okay.
Sorry to everybody in YouTube land. Okay. I think we've got and we got Etta Santiago, and with that we have a quorum. So let's call this meeting to order. We can start with the recording. I know we're live on YouTube. Are we recording? Yes, we are recording. Okay, good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the March meeting of the Community Board 12 Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee meeting. I'll be your host this evening, Liz Ritter, your chair. Welcome to our public members, or to our members of the public, to our community board members, to our guests from the Parks Department. Jennifer, if you could possibly give Steve a heads up and let him know that one of our presentations has been canceled, so the parks presentation will be up a little bit earlier than I had originally thought, probably more like 7:30. So for our agenda this evening, I don't have the virtual document handy to screen share, but I'll be making some brief announcements. Then we're going to have programming updates from cultural and Friends of Parks organizations. Jennifer Hoppe, our Northern Manhattan Parks Administrator, will give a brief report on programming and capital updates that are new from our last meeting. Then we're going to have a presentation from the Parks Department on the Fort Tryon and Inwood Hill Parks Pathways reconstruction. We will have a brief presentation from Trees New York, any old business or new business, additional announcements. Oh, thank you so much, Paola, for sharing screen. That is our agenda for this evening. So we'll leave that up for a moment so that people can see it. I would never want anybody to think that I operate with a hidden agenda. So there you go. We were possibly going to have a brief update from EDC on the Immigrant Research and Performing Arts Center, but there's been a little bit of back and forth with scheduling. He wanted to give a presentation first to some of the elected officials and to the executive committee before coming to the committee. So this morning he indicated that he hoped to be able to come to us and present in April. So that item is being removed from this evening's agenda. Additional to report, I think we're good with the screen share. So if we could kill that so we can go back to the gallery view, because I think it's always a little nicer for people to be able to see folks in the boxes. Or I don't know, maybe not. I like to be able to sort of pretend that we're in person. Feels a little more personal. I don't have a lot to report other than to say that yesterday was a really big day for parks related meetings in the afternoon. I was able to join a call with the FCRC and the Parks Department to hear public testimony on proposed concessions. There were 3 items on the agenda, 2 of which are outside of Community Board 12, but the 3rd of which related to the concession. Hello, Nobles. Nobles, good news. Sally is taking minutes. You are off the hook.
What a hero. Thanks, Sally.
I thought you'd be pleased. And even better, Barbara is taking minutes in April.
Barbara.
Anything for you, Nobles.
Oh, you two are the absolute best. I got the OGs having my back. Oh boy, this is awesome.
So yeah,
Thank you.
So can I put you in the queue for May?
Undoubtedly, yes.
My guess is June, you might be a little bit busy with some things. So I'm gonna.
I would love to do May.
Fantastic. And then great. So that is good news. Welcome also. I see we're joined by Danny Bonilla, another of our committee members. So thank you everybody for rolling in on a Tuesday night. It's going to be my goal to get everybody out of here by 8, but hopefully by 8, so that we can do other things with our evening. Anyway, so yesterday's phone meeting was with the FCRC and the Parks Department. on the concession in Fort Tryon Park, at the restaurant in Fort Tryon Park, with I took Spanish in high school, not French, so I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly. I don't know if it's the Bonifant or Le Bonfont. Somebody else can tell me, but that is going to be the restaurant in what had been the New Leaf Cafe. The details of the proposed concession agreement are available on the Parks Department's website. I don't have, because we only have a Q&A that only goes to the panelists and not out to the rest of the people who are viewing, I don't have the ability to give that URL, but if you go to the Parks Department website and in the search feature, you can search for the concession license there. And if you type in the Bonifant, BONNEFONT LLC, you can get that information through the search feature. It's 72 pages long. There's a lot of detail in there. There were several members of the public who testified in glowing support of the restaurant, The Pandering Pig, which which is located on Pinehurst Avenue and 187th Street. And it's the principals of that restaurant who, in partnership with some other neighborhood people, have come together to form a corporation to operate this concession. It would be a 20-year concession. There were glowing reviews from the folks who testified as to the quality of food, the quality of service, the neighborhood involvement and responsibility of the folks who operate that restaurant. I personally have eaten there several times. It's delicious. I testified that based on my quick reading of the proposed concession agreement, that it looked pretty good, but based on what we've heard, year in and year out about that concession, that it's really important that we have sort of family-friendly dining options and pricing, that there be some sort of less expensive carry-away items like coffee or muffins or sandwiches, not just high-end dining, and that there be really robust community involvement and community engagement and support of the community. And one of the principles of the proposed concessionaire did speak to that a little bit, and did also say that they would be happy to come to the community board's general meeting to introduce themselves and to engage regularly with this committee. So the FCRC did not vote yet. I think they vote at like their next meeting next month or something like that. I'm not exactly clear about the process, but hearing no particular objections, I get this sense, I would imagine that this is likely to be approved. As soon as I have any information on that, I will of course pass it on to you. And I personally am looking forward to having that facility activated. Also of note is they are required to make capital improvements and renovations to the facility of, it's a lot, it's like $1.17 million, I think. It's a weird number, it's less than 1.2. And over the 20-year life of the concession, the guaranteed minimum revenue to the city is like $5.3 million. It starts at 8% of their gross revenues and goes up to 8 whatever over the course of 20 years. And if you add up all of the guaranteed minimums, it's well over $5 million. So good news all around. The other meeting that I attended yesterday was the scoping meeting, the public scoping meeting for the West 186th Street basketball court. For those of you who are not familiar with it, There was a building sort of in the middle of the block on the south of the block on West 186th Street between St. Nick and Audubon. It burned down in the 70s. And in that vacant lot, which originally had been a sort of garbage strewn lot where kids informally played. At some point it became, they added basketball courts, and it's been really an important part of the community, a great place for kids to play. There was a lot of really powerful testimony and recollection of just how meaningful that space was for kids growing up in the 80s and in the 90s. There's a lot of great stuff about that facility. The downside is because it's built on what had been a building, you know, there's some subsurface infrastructure issues. There's a lot of pitting. There's a lot of surface damage. Anybody who's spent time in this committee has heard Rosa Yolanda Pineda talking about the need to really repair that. And she's been a tireless, fearless advocate for improving that space. There are beautiful murals there, but they're old and they've become degraded. They really need to be restored. The councilwoman did an incredible job, something that I've never seen before. She had one of her staff members, Kiani, was at a local barber shop with a Zoom connection so that folks in the community who don't have access to the internet could still participate in this virtual meeting. It was fantastic. That was definitely a community board and parks first. So there was really good broad participation from lots of folks near there talking about their vision for that and their needs for that. Jennifer may have information to add during her report about how people can go online and add any additional comments they may have about that space if they were not able to make the public scoping meeting. This was the beginning of the design process. The parks design team will come back to this committee to make a presentation of their proposed design for that space. Hopefully in June. That's my hope. That's their hope. It would be nice to not have to lose the time over the summer. So hopefully in June, and at which point we'll probably devote, you know, most of our agenda to that item. It was the clear consensus of those in attendance that that space should remain active for basketball. And while it may be appropriate to have it for other uses when basketball isn't being played, there is no intention of making it into, you know, anything other than a nicely renovated space for basketball, and possibly with like some seating and that kind of thing. Sorry, those two things were fairly long, but the summaries took less time than being at the actual meetings, I assure you. Last item is a whimsical note. Richard Allman, one of our board colleagues, forwarded me a delightful article in The Gothamist on a squirrel census. So there are a bunch of people going around the parks taking censuses of squirrels. It was a fun read. You can catch it on Gothamist. And oh, I'm sorry, I forgot there's one other item. We may have, I'm just looking in the attendees, if we have Marco. Yes, Marco Shalma. He will be speaking to an item under new business about a possible community event that sounded really interesting and exciting. And I look forward to hearing from him under new business. So with that, I'd like to move to item 2 on the agenda, unless do people have questions on the things?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, 2 questions. One is, in terms of the contract for the pandering pig in the park, can we get some comparison of how that compares and why to other concession agreements? Because I do remember so clearly how, for example, La Marina was given such a sweetheart deal. And so I certainly want the concession agreement to be standard, fair, and comparable to other agreements that are given out to other concessions.
I will say that based on my review, I'm sorry, can you hold on for just 1 second? This is embarrassing, but.
While we're waiting, hey, Sally, I'm going to send you some of the updates from some of our cultural affairs and parks organizations. I sent them to Liz and I, so I'll forward those to you right now.
Thank you so much. You're a prince.
We're all royalty here, doing work on behalf of the community.
Aw.
Hi, sorry about that. That was, had to take that call. So based on the review that I had done of this proposed concession and the one from several years ago for La Marina, the terms are pretty comparable. La Marina had a slightly different deal, in part because the investment that that the folks at La Marina were required to make was substantially greater than the investment that's being required of the New Leaf. In the case of La Marina, that building had no umbilicals. There was no sewage, there was no water, and there was no gas. So part of what the concessionaire had to do for that concession was to plumb all of that in and do like millions of dollars of renovations, bringing those services from the end of the street well onto the property. I don't actually want to re-adjudicate sorry to use this language, but the shit show that was that particular concession. But I hear your point. Having $5.3 million in the aggregate over 20 years, it's fairly standard for the size of the operation. And it seems—
Well, I meant more not compare. I said La Marina in many ways got a sweetheart deal. I'm thinking more comparing the New Leaf to other concessions in other parks around the city. In other words, some in other parks and other boroughs.
Those are all public documents, and you are 100% welcome to go through and look at them and do that comparison yourself. 100%.
Yeah, I just wonder what's the standard. Usually I thought it was 5% on concession that would come back to the parks and so forth.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. My next question was, I think it's great they're doing the squirrel count. I certainly have a concern about the Audubon Society has reported that 1/3 of the world's birds have been lost. And I wonder, do we have any kind of bird count that is done in New York City or by the Audubon Society?
Yes. In fact, there is last weekend, and thank you for reminding me, last weekend or the weekend before was the, it's like the Great American Bird Count. The Audubon Society, in fact, had just exactly that. So I'm happy to raise that as a topic under new business if you would like to discuss it further.
Well, I have nothing to discuss. I hope someone, maybe we could ask the Audubon Society to come and give a report.
Sure, we could, but if you would like to reach out to the Audubon Society,
I'll do it.
Have them give a report, that would be great.
I'll give them a call.
Thank you so much. Okay, it is 6:56, and we're going to do brief programming updates. Everybody has 2 minutes.
All right. I had a hand. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Daryl, you did have a hand. What you got?
That's okay. Yes, and I'm sorry if I missed this at the beginning. What's it called? Bonfont? How do you pronounce it?
Bonfont, I don't know.
All right, will they also be doing like private events like wedding receptions, etc.?
Yes, they will.
Okay. I have no plans to utilize that. I'm just saying.
Let me say something, Daryl.
Yes.
Hope springs eternal.
Yes. And
Get a little excited.
yeah, I was like, is there news?
Is there a limit on the number of weekends they can do that?
I do not know. And perhaps Jennifer will be able to address that in her comments. But since it is almost 7 o'clock and we have not even really begun her agenda, I would really like to move the agenda. So folks who are representing Friends of Parks groups or cultural organizations, this would be the time when you can raise your hand.
Okay, I can represent the Ring Garden.
Okay, but I'm gonna do a lap through the attendees first.
Sure.
Sally, is your hand up to speak in this section?
Indeed it is.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna do a lap through the public and then
Good.
I'll
I
circle
like
back
that better.
to Barbara. So first up, we have Megan Burns from the Morris Jamel Mansion.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. To keep it brief, many of our programs this month at the mansion, both virtually and in person, are going to center around Women's History Month. I invite all of you to come and join us for a special community open house surrounding artist Rose Deller's History Now exhibit, looking at how the neighborhood of Washington Heights has changed over 100 years, featuring both community portraits from the early 1900s and contemporary portraits of our neighbors today. Depending on weather, we will also be holding a sunprint workshop on that date, and everything will start at 1 and go till 3 p.m. We also have Women's History Month Paranormal Tour also that evening on the 12th at 6 p.m. And the following week, March 16th, we're really excited to have 2 virtual programs, one of which is in partnership with the New York Historical Society, Living History at Home, featuring 19th century domestic workers. Our virtual parlor chat at 7 p.m. will walk everyone through what it was like to sit for a female photographer in Old New York with Professor Catherine Manthorn. All of these programs are free with registration. And we're really excited to also share that we have a new self-guided tour centered around the Northup family, who were featured in the memoir 12 Years a Slave. And Anne Northup, the wife and mother of the family, and their 3 children lived and worked at the mansion in the early 1840s. So we're really excited to share some of their stories and perspectives as part of our reinterpretation efforts.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds interesting. Frances Hall.
Hi, everyone. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
All right. I am here tonight presenting on behalf of the Inwood Canoe Club. Just to let you all know that we are getting ready for spring at the Boathouse. Our members are reaching out to community partners, and we're starting to really get serious about pulling together this season's planning committees. So that includes Open House 2022, which is the Sunday morning program that we've run in the past. We're going to be offering free public kayaking opportunities from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. As we work through the details of that, up-to-date information will be made available on our website, inwoodcanoenyc.org. Prior to Open House beginning in late May, our membership committee is going to be hosting some events on land for folks who filled out the online membership interest form during our off-season. The first of which is going to be a shoreline cleanup and boathouse tour this upcoming Sunday, the 13th. We also have a tour and a preseason lecture scheduled for Saturday, April 9th. We're moving forward with our youth programming as well. We've been talking to Coastal Classroom, who we've partnered with in the past, and we're going to be offering ecology-focused paddling programs for middle school students through the whole season, spring through fall. Through Coastal Classroom, we were also introduced to the folks from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, our Regional Bureau of Fisheries for the New York City region. And they offer fishing opportunities for students, and we're going to be taking them on the water beginning in the spring. Additionally, as I mentioned
30 seconds.
last month, Uptown Paddling, the club's nonprofit affiliate, is still seeking grant funding for multi-week paddling course for local teens this summer. Anyone who's interested in supplying funding or participating can contact uptownpaddling@gmail.com.
Sounds good. We've got some questions. Alexis, do you have a question for the speaker, or is your hand raised to give a report? Got it. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
I have a question really quick for them.
Yes.
So, do you have a website?
Yeah, the website is inwoodcanoenyc.org. I can put that in the chat for you.
Thank you so much.
Please do. And if anybody's never gone canoeing with the Inwood Canoe Club, I really recommend it. It's a blast. This is an island, and I think we forget that. It's pretty cool. Okay, next up we have Sally Fisher.
Okay, I will be quick because I'm reporting on 3 different things. First, on behalf of Friends of Inwood Hill Park, I just wanted to put 3 events on everyone's calendar. In April, April 22nd is always Earth Day. It falls on a Friday. This year, we will be having I think it's our 7th annual Earth Day Festival from the 22nd of April through Sunday, the 23rd. On May 7th will be our 11th annual River Sweep Shoreline Cleanup. And I look forward actually to joining you guys at the Canoe Club, hopefully this Sunday. But May 7th, it's always the first Saturday in May. And then on June 4th will be our first annual National Trails Day celebration, marking the designation of the Orange Trail and Inwood Hill Park as a national recreation trail. I will be in touch with Inwood Canoe Club because that's also the 10th anniversary of the designation of the Hudson River Greenway Water Trail. So I'm hoping that we can collaborate and do something together that day to mark both the land and the water. From Wynn Food Council, just to note that our Grow from Home program is going gangbusters. We had a lot of interest, and there's actually a similar program being sponsored by the Dickman Farmhouse. We're referring people that didn't get into our program to that one, but if you haven't had a chance to check out the Grow from Home program that's offered by the Dickman Farmhouse, I encourage everyone to. We also are doing our farm share program every Wednesday. And then most important for everyone on the call, on March 22nd, I don't know who's looked at Mayor Adams' preliminary budget, but it proposes to leave New York City parks woefully underfunded. And it flies in the face of promises by Mayor Adams and others to devote 1% of the city budget to city parks. There will be a rally on March 22nd from 9 to 10 a.m. at New York City Hall. I encourage everyone who loves and cares about parks to be there. It will be followed by a budget hearing by the Parks Committee. So that's a really important date for anyone on this call that's interested in proper funding for our green spaces.
Cool.
One more
And
time, you
thank
said it
you.
was 3 with the date and the time. One more time, please.
Okay, which dates did you want?
The council hearing.
The rally is from 9 to 10 a.m. on March 22nd at City Hall, and the council hearing will be after that.
Thank you. And I have one more question for Sally, Chair, if time would permit.
Yeah.
Sally, I was just wondering, did mulch, and then this will be ingenious and awesome, but did mulch from Mulch Fest that was left over make its way to Fort Tryon's new dog park design? No, that wasn't the mulch from Mulch Fest? Oh.
I don't know. It made it
All
to
right.
a lot of tree pits and throughout the neighborhood, but I'm not sure if anyone picked up any and took
Right.
it down to the dog run.
We put them
No,
in a
it's
couple of tree pits
fresh.
in ours, but
Totally fresh.
fresh
Not-
mulch.
not just
I was gonna
Christmas
say,
tree.
oh, that's so sustainable, but I guess we used it all up then. All right, thank you, Chair.
Cool. Thank you for those questions. Next up, we've got Barbara. Oh, and one thing I just want to ask people, it would be super helpful to Barbara if you could just send a quick summary to me.
To
Liz,
Sally, not to Barbara, because I'm doing minutes.
by which I meant Sally. Sorry, to Liz Ritter .cb12m@gmail.com, and then I'll forward that along to Sally so that she can drop them in. Sally, you're going to have to write yourself your own brief summary, and apologize for those sirens outside. I have no idea what's going on.
It's the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's nothing good.
It's springtime.
No, a fire truck just rolled up outside my window. Barbara, you've got the floor next.
Okay, all right. For the ring garden, spring is coming and the garden is awakening from the winter hibernation. And so, first of all, volunteers. Ring Garden is seeking volunteers for now all the tasks that can begin. Sitters to open the gates so lots of people can come in, and then more volunteers to plant, to care for the flowers and trees, care for the goldfish pond, which is really quite a task because it operates on solar and requires a lot of tending, and the children in the neighborhood, besides the grown-up children, us adults, love the goldfish pond, the fish pond. And also help with our composting program. I do have to point out that our mayor referred to composting as an Upper East Side hobby. And we have had a composting program for, it must be 25, 30 years. And it's well liked in the neighborhood, but it requires sifting and turning and so forth. So we need volunteers for that. Upcoming events are Art in the Garden, which will hopefully coincide with Uptown Arts. And then also a woman in the neighborhood, Catherine Vargas, a mental health professional, will be having a mental health fair in the garden where she will have other facilitators there for people thank you, people in the community to come in and focusing on mental health through art, workshops, meditation, use of nature and so forth. That will be late June, early July. Still in planning, but will happen. That's all.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next up.
And Liz, have you gotten your membership yet?
I haven't. Send it to me.
Nope. Just go on the website.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Next up, we have Alexis Marnell.
Where am I? Okay.
We can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick little note over at Classical Theater of Harlem. Go over to our website, www.cthnyc.org, to hear our radio plays about unsung heroes from the Harlem Renaissance. Include Maddie May, Nina Mae McKinney, Jacob Lawrence, Gladys Bentley, Angelina Weld Grimke, Mae Miller, and Archibald Motley. Also, I've got a lot of grant money to spend on school programming. So if anybody's interested in getting free arts education programming, hit me up.
I'm actually gonna say, I was just typing a comment to Cassandra Collazo, who is the Good Shepherd Girl Scout troop leader, who says, I am currently in discussion with Danita of the Inwood Library and Maddie, the Ring Garden volunteer, to bring back the infant toddler story time. More info to come. I don't know if that qualifies, since it's not a school, it's a Girl Scout troop, but it's a 501c3. And Cassandra, I don't know if that's the kind of programming you're interested in, but perhaps the two of you could talk to each other.
Yeah, we have a great collaboration with a company called Broken Box Mime, and I think that would be great.
We would love to have them perform in the Ring Garden, to have like theater in the garden. And as soon as the weather's better, late May, June, something like that, a summer theater in the garden. Let's work on that, Alexis.
I'd love it.
That would be great.
Okay.
Cassandra, I just unmuted you. Is this anything of interest? Do you want to share your contact information? Do you have anything else you want to report beyond the blurb that you typed and I read?
Oh, yeah. Well, the reason I put in Girl Scout troop leader, that's just my title. Maddie and I are facilitating just a toddler program, in infant toddler story time. I know that Barbara was familiar with it. And
Yes.
we had to stop once it was freezing because I was out there, but nobody else was showing up. So I emailed Danita today along with Maddie, and we plan to bring back the Ring Garden hopefully shortly after it reopens, which I believe it's opening up, Barbara, if I'm correct, April 2nd.
You can do it now if you want, no problem.
Oh, okay, great. So I'll just follow
Based on the weather.
Okay, that's perfect. So Liz, I'll just let you know more information as that happens.
Fantastic. Sally, did you have a question for one of the speakers, or can I go on to additional reports that were emailed to me?
I
had a question.
Oh, okay, but I see Sally,
Okay, so yes, to continue. I didn't know if you had gotten an announcement from Martin Collins or Andrea regarding the Up Close and Personal Women in the Heights exhibit. And if you hadn't, I was going to just announce that.
I have those announcements. They're in my.
Oh, good. Okay. I'll be quiet.
Yep. Barbara?
Quick question, Alexis. With the storytelling tradition in Harlem Renaissance, you didn't mention Zora Neale Hurston.
We are focusing more on the lesser known icons of Harlem Renaissance. So like somebody like Angelina Wells Grimke, she was actually like the first female published playwright during the Harlem Renaissance, who also happened to be biracial and raised by abolitionists. And her father was one of the first African-American men to graduate from Harvard Law School.
Cool.
So it's the lesser knowns.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I did have 3 reports come in by mail. I'm just going to give you these quick updates. Rachel Citron from Rowe, New York, who was unable to attend this evening, did want to, and Sally, I'm fine with just dropping these into the minutes. You don't need to capture them. And like, I got this. Rachel Citron from Rowe, New York did want to report that the Peter J. Sharp Boathouse removal is slated for late April. It will take several days of work to get unhooked because it's not like a single thing. They're not planning any kind of big public event around it. But she did want to keep us posted on the timing on that.
I'm glad she followed up on the public piece, because you had that question for her last meeting, if it would be a public. Yeah.
You know, it was definitely a cool idea, but, you know, we all kind of got at the time that it might or might not be practical. And it turns out it's not, but I do appreciate that she checked. Martin Collins from the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance says that the deadline for artists to apply for grants between $2,500 and $5,000 from NOMA is May 9th. I'm sorry, somebody needs to be muted? What's going on here? A little background noise? Okay. See their website, www.nomaanyc.org for information. The Uptown Art Stroll poster contest deadline is March 27th, and we urge Community Board 12 artists to enter. See our website for info and submit your artwork. Again, nomanyc.org. They have 3 technical assistant workshops for artists and arts organizations scheduled at Broadway Housing Communities at 898 St. Nicholas Avenue at 155th Street. They're all at 6:30 on Wednesday, April 6th, grant writing with Michael Palma. Wednesday, April 13th, supercharge your social media with Lead Black. And Wednesday, May 4th, producing and editing a standout highlight reel with Emmanuel Abreu. RSVP is required. He gave an Eventbrite address that would be impossible to write down quickly, but if you go to NOMA's website, you can get information on all of that. We invite everyone to our Women in the Heights exhibition celebrating Women's History Month. The exhibit is in person. It's opening on 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 22nd at NOMA's space at the United Palace Theater. See their website for details. Could whoever is not muted, please mute themselves. And you can also visit their website to calendar your events for the 20th annual Art Stroll. Last report is from, you go last, and that's a segue into your own agenda item. Sorry, the last report is from Alexander Campos, who is not able to attend this evening because they are having their Women's History Month opening event this evening. It's a wonderful exhibition, which is on view through the month of March and early April, with a discussion scheduled for Friday, April 1st at 6 p.m. This Thursday, they're launching the season's concert series with a live YouTube event on flamenco. You can go to their website, HispanicSociety.org. To get the link for the YouTube, and they are having, if you haven't seen it already, their exhibition, Nuestra Casa, Rediscovering the Treasures of the Hispanic Society Museum and Library. It features many old favorites. It really is like visiting friends that we haven't seen because they were on tour around the world. The globe-trotting Goyas and Velázquez's on view through April 17th, Thursday through Sunday, noon to 6, free of charge, with free public tours every Saturday at 1. To register for your visit, go to their website. It's a wonderful exhibition. I encourage you all to go. With that, seeing no other hands, I give it over to Jennifer Hoppe to give us an update on programming and on new capital events updates since last time.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
We got you.
Got it. Okay. Hi, everyone. Lots going on in Northern Manhattan parks, all for good. A few quick announcements. Yes, Liz mentioned the 186th Street Courts public hearing or public input session was last night. I want to thank Liz and the community board for getting such a great turnout for parks and Councilmember De La Rosa. I don't know if you can see it in the chat. If you have more ideas as an outcome of that meeting or have some thoughts, if you go into the answered section of the chat, under the first item, I have the link. You can provide public input on the West 186th Street Courts up until March 21st. Following that, the designers are going to take all the public input they heard at the meeting and what they receive online, and they'll be coming back to the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee in June, as I believe Liz mentioned. So you got the announcement on the new concession, which is great. The Bond Font, we're excited to have that amenity in the park. It's an important destination that helps keeps the park lively, but also keeps the park safer because it's actively used year round. So we're really looking forward to that. And they're a wonderful group. And as Liz attested, they've put together a great proposal. So it's something exciting on the horizon. Inwood Hill Park are unfortunately as part of the further design phase of the ball fields that were funded. Our borings contractor did some damage to the surface. The Parks Capital Division and the landscape construction director have met with them, and the contractor is being directed to make repairs. This was the contractor that was doing subsurface investigation and did major damage to the lawn in the process.
And this is where?
This is at Inwood Hill Park, the ball fields. We recognize that this is disruptive for upcoming ball field season, and we're trying to expedite the contractor's required restoration of the fields. Big project. I don't know if I can share screens. Can I?
Yeah, you're a panelist. I think you can.
Okay, I don't think I've set it up the right way though to share screen. So major improvement at the Fort Tryon Dog Run. Let's see. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So this was a project of the Parks Department and the Fort Tryon Park Trust. As many of you know, the community advocated for a dog run in the center of the park in an area that had previously been a children's lawn. It's over 20 years old. It's Manhattan's largest run, and it had never received city capital funding and relied on volunteer stewardship to keep it going. That's a heavy load for such a big facility. And over time, you can see on the right, it really deteriorated. Everything slid down. And then with the massive storms we had as of late, it really almost became unusable. The Fort Tryon Park Trust brought in a landscape contractor and undertook $100,000 worth of stabilization and erosion control improvements. If you're into numbers, here they are. It was $100,000. Part of that funding came through our new dog lover membership for Tryon Park Trust. 12 birch trees planted, 20 dump trucks of wood chips applied. That's, I think, 600 cubic yards. A lot of boulders installed. And the contractor got it done in a really short amount of time. And then the Parks Department's gardeners did the final touches with the fencing. So
Can
good
you send
news.
me that slide?
Which one?
Can you send me that slide with all the numbers?
Oh,
That'll make
sure,
it
sure.
much easier. Thank you.
As many of you recall, the council
Can you
member.
make it the bigger version? Sorry. Like the
Ooh.
slideshow or.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. It was in really rough shape. Really rough shape.
Yeah.
And one important thing to really point out is this is not just for the dog owning or dog loving community. This is a real key interior amenity in the park. It's a unifier. It brings people together from the east side of the park, the west side of the park. People from outside of the community come together. It really is critical to the interior park safety and activation. And thankfully, we have a really diverse type of working population. Dog owners use this at all hours. Again, so it's really a vital piece of the overall park's safety. And we're happy this happened, but we definitely want the city capital project for the water service so that it can get washed down, so we can prevent issues, keep it clean, safe, and dogs and humans have drinking water. So that's up next, city capital funding for that. But we know capital projects take a while, so this was sort of a first phase.
What's the approximate price tag on something like that?
This committee may recall it was a participatory budget item. I think in one of your hearings a few years ago, Liz.
No. What's the approximate price tag on a capital project for bringing in water service?
Right. That had been a participatory budget request at one point in time. We have an old estimate. I've requested a new estimate.
Got it.
So water service, and then that fencing is in bad shape and over 20 years old. So water service, fencing, and maybe a little bit of expansion. So I just wanted to share that good news. Happy dogs, happy humans, safer, more beautiful park, and less silt and soil flooding down the pathways and deteriorating them further south in the park. And I don't know how to get out of share screen.
You're out of share screen.
Oh, I am. Okay, good. Sorry.
Success.
I'm like, I don't know how to get back into the Zoom.
Nope, you're in.
Here
the
I
Zoom.
am. Okay.
It's all good.
The other thing you're going to hear about are the in a little bit, we'll be going over the pathway work that's going to be upcoming in Fort Tryon and Inwood Hill. This community has been invaluable in their advocacy for that kind of key park infrastructure. So thank you for that. And the Bennett Avenue rock face, where the rock face collapse had happened, I think is going to start, if not the end of next month, early the following. So stay tuned for that. Contractors expected to keep the Jersey barricades and not extend further out into the roadway. Some upcoming programs for people to enjoy. Sunday, this is always a popular one. Sunday, March 13th, the Rangers are going to be having a geology tour of Inwood Hill Park, 1 p.m. The Seaman and Isham entrance. If you haven't been into the interior of the forest, this is a great way to do it. There are huge rock ledges that are amazing in there. Friday, March 25th, Sally may have mentioned this, the Inwood Hill Park Forest Restoration Project is happening 9 to 12. Saturday, March 12th, the second Saturday's trail work, bike share at the Highbridge Bike Park behind George Washington High School. And then in Fort Tryon, we've resumed our forest fitness classes Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 7:30 to 8:30. And then there's a Native American program this Saturday for kids at the Fort Washington Terrace. That's the A-train subway station where the ping pong tables are. The Alley Pond Environmental Center is going to come and talk about practices from the 1600s that certain Native tribes used and how they can be applied to today. And I think that's it. There's more coming up. Stay tuned, but I don't want to go any further because we have 2 more agenda items.
Yes, I do have a quick question. The fitness, that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 to 8:30. The Saturday one is also 7:30, or that's 8:30 to 9:30?
I think that's 8:30 to 9:30. Let me pull it up again.
I mean, because that's what it was for like many years.
Yeah. Saturday is 8:30. And then the Sunday walking program that's put on by Shape Up, that's 9 a.m. And that meets at 190th in Fort Wash, but it's actually 192nd in Fort Wash at the Circle.
If we're asking times here, your Inwood Geology walk, what time is that on Sunday?
1 p.m.
Thank you.
And that's put on by the Rangers.
Yep. Was that your question, Nobles, or did you have another question?
I did have one more question, actually,
Okay.
And it's really quick. I saw the work being done in Fort Tryon. You guys put on a clinic on how quickly you can do a pretty large project. I wanted to know, like, the speed of which it was done. Was that because it was a public-private partnership, or was there some other reason why it was done so quickly? Because it was amazing. Like, you go in there, and then the next week you go in, it's done.
So it was 2 things. We had scoped out, Parks had scoped out the project with the Fort Tryon Park Trust and this landscape contractor. Then Parks Forestry came out for a related project. And then we worked with Parks Capital Construction. Since it was basically restoration, it was much easier to implement. We didn't dramatically change the use or the layout or anything, right?
Sure, sure.
Contractor got delayed because of weather. Then we had forecasts of other weather. He had other jobs he wanted to get to. So he mobilized like 10 machines and 20 people so they could knock it out in 7 days.
So it was like contractor discretion, and that's how that, because there was so many things in there. I was like, an army in there. Thank you.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
it was a private landscape contractor, the same one who did the Billings Arcade restoration.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I really want to keep things moving. So Sally is next, then Barbara, and I'm going to beg you to please be brief.
Yes, two quick questions. One, any update on the Inwood Nature Center? And then the second question, I saw a picture of a sign that looks like it was near the lighthouse, that we might have a pollinator place in northern Manhattan. And I wondered if you had any comments on that.
Sure. As far as I know, the Nature Center is going forward as planned. I can find out and report back to you and Liz if there are any delays. Write that down. The Pollinator Garden is being done by gardening staff at Riverside Park and Fort Washington Park down by the Little Red Lighthouse. Yes. We've also done in northern Manhattan parks, gardens with lots of pollinators at J. Hood Wright, some included in the new garden we did at the 207th entrance to Inwood Hill Park. And then I think we might be doing one with you, with Friends of Inwood Hill.
Yes.
By the Nature
Yeah, we're
Center.
excited. I was really happy to see that news. More pollinated plants, the better for all of us.
Great.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Sure. Thank you, Sally.
Barbara.
Just that quick question, will there be a, for the Pandering Pig, the new people taking over the new leaf, will there be a limit on the number of weekends that they can hold private parties?
I had put that inquiry when you raised it earlier in the meeting. I sent it to the revenue division, so I'm going to have to get back to you.
Okay. And
I'm sure
second
it was
part of the
probably stipulated, and then it's at the commissioner's discretion.
Okay, and then the second question is, if it does have a private party, would it be closed to the public? I mean, like, would the inside be for the private party, the patio would still be available to the public or something like that?
I think it depends on the size of the event, because some people
Okay.
have, 40-person
Huge.
events. Some people
Some have 200-person events. Okay,
Yeah.
but let's get that clarified.
Right.
Okay?
And
Sure.
just to be clear, the bathrooms in the back are always
available.
open. The
Always
bathroom
open.
that's upstairs is not necessarily available if the place is closed for a private event, but
Ooh,
the ones downstairs and in the back,
Always.
they are always available.
available.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Jennifer, for responding to that, because that's a huge thing. Yes, Jennifer, is it speaking to the bathroom issue?
No, I think you answered that.
Okay,
It was a question about a capital project in the chat. So when you see,
yes, I will recognize that in a second, but first I want to, we've got Steve. I thought I had promoted Steve to a panelist, but yes, what you got, Steve?
I don't know. Did Jennifer mention that we have another tour of the Highbridge Water Tower on the 19th on
I forgot to. Thank you, Steve.
Saturday the
1
19th?
to 3.
Did you say 1 to 3? 1 to 3, yes. And did you say it's a free tour? Yes, it's free. And is it conducted by the Urban Park Rangers? Yes, you're correct. It's conducted by the Park Rangers.
You
Is
don't
it-
have to ask in the form of a question. This isn't a general meeting. You could just say what you got to say.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe.
And Jeopardy's over.
I thought it was like Jeopardy. I'm sorry. Okay.
Nope.
So it's our wonderful historic Highbridge Water Tower, recently restored, and we welcome everybody to take advantage of walking up and enjoying the view. And that's Saturday the 19th from 1 to 3. You can just walk in. No appointment is necessary, although you can reserve a spot by going to the Parks Department website and registering your visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then last on this section of the agenda, Ira Gershenhorn has typed into the chat that the Pollinator Park at the Lighthouse is being done by the Riverside Parks Conservancy. That area is not part of Northern Manhattan Parks under Jennifer Hoppa. And Jennifer, you got something you want to add to that? You're muted.
Why?
Yes, just that, it's not, Ira's correct. It's the Riverside Park Conservancy being done in conjunction with the Parks Department. And while it's not in my purview, it is part of Northern Manhattan community. So.
Right.
No one should feel like it's not for them.
It's totally for us. It's just not, it's not totally your problem. It's John Harold's, whom we also love, respect, and appreciate. But don't tell him this, not as much as you, because you're the best. Okay, so seeing no other hands. Oh, wait,
Quick hand.
Carol. Yes.
Sorry, I was late. Yeah, obviously, as someone mentioned, it's Women's History Month. Is the parks going to make another effort at some point with renaming parks and ask for community suggestions for that and a variety of reasons?
I don't know what the new commissioner's plans are on that front, but any community board or community group should feel free to put forward a proposal at any time. But in terms of a broad spread thematic approach, I'm not sure that's what she's going to take on right out of the gate. So if there's something you would really like renamed, I urge you to put together a committee, put together a presentation and then make that recommendation specific to that.
So Daryl, maybe we should circle back to those discussions that we had some months ago and pop that on our agenda for the April meeting. That's, we kind of left that hanging a little bit, and that definitely feels like some unfinished business. And that's kind of my bad for not having followed up on it more. So thank you very much for raising that.
Yeah, and just on that note too, I know we dealt with this in the HHS committee. If there was, resolutions from last administration, I think Ebenezer or someone should bring it up to the current administration so they know about our priorities and resolutions.
Yeah, you don't have to keep raising your hand. You could use the raise hand feature, or you could just,
okay.
What's up?
There's a question in the chat about the Dickman Waterfront. There will be a public input session for the Dickman Waterfront, probably, what are we in now, March? Probably late April, early May is the project, and that's the $22 million for the Dickman Pier, the Inwood Kayak Club area, and the Shoreline.
I'm sorry, and you said early May?
I'd say early May is probably likely, but it could be sooner.
And that would be a public scoping meeting?
Be a public input.
Public input
The
meeting.
scope is pretty much set since it was an outgrowth of a new need request, but we want to hear community priorities, concerns, issues, things to keep in mind.
Okay, and would that be Zoom, in person, or who really knows yet?
Right, who really knows yet?
Okay, cool. All right, it's 7:40. We are more or less on track. So I would like for our next agenda item to be a presentation from Parks on Fort Tryon and Inwood Hill Parks Pathways Reconstruction. I'm going to turn over the microphone, as it were, to Daniel Sullivan, New York City Parks landscape architect. Though before I do, I just want to echo that, this is just not sexy. It is pathways, but it is one of the most important things about our parks, because it's very hard to use and enjoy our parks and do that in safety when we can't get to and through them. And in the Northeast, where we have this freeze thaw cycle with pavement, pathways are subject to the same terrible potholes that we see all around our streets. And as we have more extremes of weather and, lots of rain, it's just like, it's a hot mess. It is a hot mess. So for decades, this committee and this board has been active in advocating for this incredibly not sexy infrastructure maintenance and redevelopment. And I am delighted to hear what you have to tell us. So take it away, Daniel.
Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to sharing your time with us tonight. I'll be presenting two projects. The first will be Inwood Hill Park, which is about a mile of pathway that we'll be reconstructing. And the next will be Fort Tryon Park, which will also be about a mile of path that we're reconstructing. So I'll get right into the presentations.
And actually, if you can do me a favor and
sure.
send us, you can share screen, but if you can also send us the slide deck, that will make the note-taking piece much easier. And I'm gonna kill my video so that I can watch this.
I'll send it to you tomorrow, Liz.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Just a second, please. Okay, can everyone see?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. I'll be presenting Inwood Hill Park. This is state of good repair pavement reconstruction, which is a narrowed scope of work, really targeting primarily pathways and not much else outside of that. It allows us to cover much more of the park than in typical capital projects. In this case, it's about a mile stretch of pathway, and we'll take a closer look at that later on in the presentation. The total budget is $700,000. It's mayorally funded, and the project size is about 2.5 acres. The goals are to provide safe pavement surfaces for all users, facilitate active and passive recreational opportunities for the community, maintain ADA compliance, and also very importantly, enable access for parks vehicles, NYPD, and FDNY. Everyone knows where Inwood Hill Park is in the northern tip of Manhattan. There's little to low flood risk. The surrounding use is mostly residential and adjacent park space. It is outside of historic districts. LPC landmarks preservation commission permitting is not required. As far as a seeker is concerned, environmental review, this would be a type 2 action, which is not subject to review, as this truly is replacement in kind of an existing facility such as pavement. So getting into the pathways, we're coming off of Payson on the southern edge of the park, coming from Payson and kind of near Dyckman Street. You can see a very abrupt transition from asphalt of fair condition to extremely poor condition, cracking and uneven surfaces. So we'll replace all of these pathways in kind. It's worth noting that the granite block swales are actually in pretty fair to good condition, so they can remain almost intact throughout. However, if we do find pieces that are broken or out of place, we can fix that as we go. Here's another view working up the pathways. You can see the asphalt's crumbling and breaking apart. And in some cases, it's completely, the asphalt path is missing in some sections. Again, note the granite block swale is in fair to good condition. Here again, a photo of asphalt path breaking apart. Another view of missing sections. A close-up view of the asphalt breaking apart. And there's other shorter sections of very old concrete path that I think that was done many, many decades ago. And that is also cracking and uneven. And it's really, concrete is inconsistent with the rest of the pathway vocabulary, which is primarily asphalt. So we'll go ahead and replace that with asphalt. Here again, looking at the other section we'll be working on, north of Beak Street along Payson Avenue, you can see a very clear delineation from good pavement to very poor pavement. And here again, asphalt cracking and uneven, really breaking apart here. And then turning back to a short stretch of concrete path that is very broken and inconsistent with the rest of the park's pathways. So that again will be asphalt. And just to quickly review the scope of work is to reconstruct the pathways with full depth asphalt, reconstruct any damage or granite block edging or pavement that we come across, and of course, tree vegetation and lawn protection anywhere needed. And just to take a quick look at the materials, full depth asphalt and reconstructing damaged granite block or pavement and edging. And I just want to point out construction duration for this project, even though it's a mile stretch, we already have this contract awarded. And the contractor is very experienced with pathways. This is their bread and butter. And we've worked with them directly on previous projects, and they're very efficient. And they get in and they get out. I would expect this project to run at most likely a month. So 4 weeks. It may go a little over by a week or two, but I'm projecting 4 weeks for this project. And I think we would start in May, ideally. We're working with the contracts and procurement department within our agency right now, but it's looking like that's when they would break ground. So I think it would be running through April, and hopefully after that we could turn it back over to the community for the rest of the summer to enjoy.
Just one thing to add. Oh, did you just go back or are you going forward?
Oh, sure, I can go back.
Okay. Just so not everybody on the call knows this. The Inwood Hill Park is 190 acres. It hasn't received pathway reconstruction money in probably about 15 years. We need, we've got lots of permeable area. It's 190 acres. It does have about 10 miles of pathway, some of which we're allowing to naturalize. But we do want vehicular access for emergency services. We do want fire trucks to get in there in the event of a fire. We do need forestry trucks to be able to get in there, NYPD, park enforcement, masons to fix walls, those types of things. So we do want to have some consistent or predictable vehicular access for, particularly for emergency services, but also for maintenance and operations. And that'll help with public safety, which as many people from the community know has been a growing issue in Inwood Hill Park.
Thank you, Jennifer. My presentation is finished. If anyone has any questions.
Sally?
Yes, I just want to correct Liz. I find this presentation incredibly sexy. So thank you. This was great. We look forward to the work being done. I just wanted to put on your calendar June 4th, which is National Trails Day. And that's when we will be celebrating the designation of the Orange Trail as a national recreation trail. So I hope whatever is taken out of service and restricted could be that access would not be restricted on that Saturday. And that's it.
That's a good point, Sally. Dan has the
What's
the
that date?
trail map. June 4th is National Trails Day. And Sally and Parks and Natural Areas Conservancy put forward a proposal to Department of Interior for the Orange Trail in Inwood Hill Park to be designated a federal recreation trail.
And Dan, let's see if we can schedule this work so it's completed by June 4th.
Yeah, we will certainly shoot for that and keep you posted. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for that, Sally.
Should I move on to Fort Tryon?
No, we've actually got two other questions. First up, we've got Danny Bonilla, and then followed by Daryl Cochrane.
Hey, I'll make my question quick. That was a really nice presentation, and I'm looking forward to seeing the work being done. I walk through that park a lot, and I run through that park a lot, and it would be amazing to see a lot of like the asphalt reconstructed and paved over and fixed and whatnot. Also, from what I got from your presentation, you guys are not doing any stair work, because I know that in that park, there's like these like kind of like steps, but they're not stairs exactly. They're like these like long steps. None of that is being fixed, if I'm correct, right?
Correct. Those are what's known as stair ramps.
Copy.
Yeah. We looked at them and we evaluated the paths as being in really worse condition. I think they're in the stair ramps are in fair condition. Some are not as well off as others. But really the scope of this work is geared towards emergency vehicle and maintenance vehicle access throughout the park. So that's where the priority went.
But Danny, we have it on our list. We just got the MTA to fix 2 of the bluestone staircases for us at the tunnels. And if future contracts come up for stairways, I know there are about 3 more in Inwood Hill that we'd like to redo. So it is on our radar, especially the one by the handball courts.
Right. Yeah, I've seen it. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you very much. And like once again, like awesome presentation, and I'm looking forward to seeing this park repaved and running it again soon.
Cool. Thank you. And Daryl, yes.
You said at the beginning of the presentation about, one of the rationales for this is ADA access. Is the grade for this pathway, is that all ADA accessible? I know
it's not all entirely ADA accessible. However, when you do have broken, uneven surfaces and areas with chunks missing that collect ice, you have several tripping and slipping hazards. So we're just making every effort to mitigate that as much as possible. But we're not changing the slopes or anything like that.
Oh, okay. And like I know when there was another park we did a while ago that the ADA path could only go so far, and then they put a like a mini plaza for folks to rest there and have a viewing section. Is that being done?
No, not in this project. This is pretty strictly just pathways.
Thank you.
Great. We got a question from Ira, who writes in the Q&A, I recently walked there. Yes, the asphalt is all breaking up, and will you be replacing it with more asphalt or perhaps some permeable surface like grid pavers that may hold up better than the asphalt and be more environmentally conscientious, efficient, but really boring and continuing the status quo. How uninspiring.
Yeah, I see the point there. But asphalt, maintenance is a big concern with the Parks Department. And asphalt actually does have recycling properties, meaning we could recycle previous asphalt that was used from roadways or elsewhere in parks. So that is a benefit to it. Another thing, asphalt has some flexibility when there's a freeze and thaw occurring. So that it actually does hold up pretty well in a area like this, in a situation like this.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Oh, we've got one more. Danny Bonilla, you've got another
Yeah,
question?
sorry, I should have asked this a little bit earlier. This presentation, I can find this on the website, right?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, cool.
We should be able to post it.
Steve is going to be sending it to me, and if he's not, he's going to be sending it to me, and I will happily share it with the committee.
Okay, awesome, yeah.
But we should be able to post it on the Parks website as well.
Great. And I also have to say, I'm actually in agreement with Sally. Most people find this to be unsexy. I love this stuff, but I'm nerdy like that.
Just look at the design of that pathway. Isn't that a great design? Just the way it seems to me that could be replicated on T-shirts.
It has curves. It has curves. I like curves.
Looks like an Ohio voting district.
Absolutely, right? Spoken like a state committee member. Okay, Daniel, you have another, I'm trying to be mindful of time. It's already 8 o'clock and Daniel has a second presentation on Fort Tryon. Where I have almost tripped and fallen pretty much every day this week. So really looking forward to hearing about that.
Okay, so let's get into Fort
Dan,
Tryon.
Are you gonna tell the public what you told me earlier today?
Regarding
these pathways compared to a lot of the other parks.
Yeah, and these pathways could really use the attention. I'll put it that way. And I'm looking forward to really creating safe pathways that really every user uses them, from the elderly to children to strollers, wheelchair access. So this really is the bones of a park that takes you to your dog runs or to your overlooks. So let's get into it. So Fort Tryon Park, again, this is a state of good repair pavement reconstruction project. That means it's really geared towards pathway pavement. The budget is 1.35, some from the borough president and some mayoral. The project size is just a little under 2.5 acres. The goals, again, are to provide safe pavement surfaces for users, resolve erosion and sediment runoff, facilitate active and passive recreational opportunities for the community, and maintain ADA compliance.
And how many miles of pavement is this?
Oh, sorry. This is, again, about a mile, approximately a mile of pathway.
And this park is 8 miles total pathway perimeter, just so people know.
So everyone knows where Fort Tryon Park is. It's just south of Inwood Hill in Upper Manhattan. There's no flood risk. The surrounding land use is mostly residential and park space outside of historical districts. This is a scenic landmark, and we will be working with coordinating with our historic preservation officer and most likely submitting to the Landmarks Preservation Committee. But we previously just did that for another site and it was approved. So this one should be pretty straightforward. Again, for environmental review, this would be a secret type 2 action, not subject to review, as it is really just a reconstruction of pavement in kind. So just a quick snapshot of all the pathways that we're reconstructing. I just want to point out in the upper right-hand corner, Ann Loftus Playground is currently being reconstructed. Just want to let you know that we know that. There is some construction fencing embedded within the adjacent pathways. So therefore, this area will fall outside of our scope of work. But we really, and that this pathway will also be left open, as I understand it's the primary visitor access route to the Met Cloisters. However, we are really hoping to come back and reconstruct this stretch of path either in fall or spring of this year or next year. So we'll be focusing on two areas. The first area is a reconstruction north of West 196th Street. And the second area is a short stretch of erosion damage from Hurricane Ida. So now we're looking at area one. So we'll start, I guess, in the lower pathways near Broadway and Ardenne Street. So here's a very typical view of the pathways in poor condition with cracking and uneven surfaces. But I do want to note that the soldier granite block edging and benches and range fence are all in pretty good condition along this stretch, so they can remain in place. We'll just replace the asphalt pathway. Here's another view of the path cracking and settling. Another view of the pathway crumbling and eroding along the edges. In this type of situation, we would employ soldier granite block edging that'll help stabilize the pavement edge and mitigate erosion. Here again, the path is crumbling and eroding along the edges. Soldier granite block will also be used to stabilize the pavement edge. Here again, path is crumbling and you can see erosion along the right side of the path. So we'll provide soldier granite block here. But note the existing soldier granite block along the left side is in fair condition and can remain in place. Looking up to the pathway along the Cloisters Lawn, here again, the asphalt path is cracking and settling, so we'll make that more uniform and flush. Several benches are missing and concrete pads are cracking in this area, so all the benches and concrete pads will be replaced along this stretch here along the Cloisters Lawn. All other benches will remain throughout the park. So here's a view looking back where we'll replace the benches and the pathway. And working north, you can see again the pavement cracking and settling. However, the benches here and the concrete pads are in pretty fair condition and can remain in place. Here again, asphalt path. This is our northern edge where the money runs out. We'll repave this as much as repave the path, and the benches can remain in place. Now looking at the path leading up to the cloisters, you can see heavy heaving from the tree roots. These trees will be protected, and we will carefully excavate in this area with hand excavation, inspect the roots, and treat it appropriately to help prevent the pavement from heaving and creating tripping hazards. Here again, an image of the path heaving and cracking from tree roots. But again, we'll carefully excavate and determine the best solution when we see what the root conditions are. And working our way south, here again, the asphalt path is cracking and inconsistent with several patches, so that'll be a completely uniform path. And a tree was recently removed in this location with very large tree roots that created tripping hazards, so we can remove those old tree roots and make the path uniform.
I'm sorry, who is the woman standing in the foreground of that last picture?
I was like, did you clear that with our agent?
Yeah, Jennifer and I walked this site several times, so we're very familiar with how to attack this project. And just to review the scope of work for Area 1, we'll be reconstructing asphalt pathways, provide soldier granite block edging to mitigate erosion, replace all benches and concrete pads adjacent to the Cloisters Lawn, and of course, tree, vegetation, and lawn protection wherever necessary. So moving on to Area 2, this is a short stretch of erosion where the heavy rains washed away this semi-steep hillside, and the asphalt path is breaking apart, no edge treatment. So what we'll do is provide soldier granite block, which will stabilize that edge and redirect the stormwater so that it doesn't wash away that slope. The boulders will be removed and reset. The eroded slope will be restored with part of fill, geotextile, stabilization, and soldier granite block edging. And just to recap, the scope of work for Area 2, very small piece, but remove and reset existing boulders, restore the eroded slope with bar fill, geotextile, and soldier granite block edging. And again, tree, vegetation, and lawn protection. Just to review the proposed materials, full depth asphalt, granite block edging, landscape and soldier where applicable, and bench type B with Kebinized wood slats.
What is Kebinized?
Kebinized is a treated, it's a soft wood, but it's treated to really perform like a hardwood. And it's historically what's been used in Fort Tryon Park and Riverside. So keeping with that aesthetic, we'll be using the same.
So they'll be brown, not green?
Well, they look brown at first, but they lighten up over time in the sun.
But they won't be painted green.
Correct. They will not be painted green.
Sweet. Okay. I'm seeing a bunch of questions. Before I get to them, actually, no, I'm going to get to those questions first. First, we've got Nobles, then Daryl, then Sally. Oh, wait, you know what? We've got actually, we've got someone in the attendees, non-panelist attendees, so I'm going to go through them first. It's Marty Collins. Marty, if you have a question about this project, you are welcome to ask it. If you wanted to give your report from NOMA, I did already give it for you. Yep.
Thank you, Liz, for doing that. So I will go back and listen to the rest of this meeting.
Okay.
I am. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, Liz.
You bet. All right, Nobles.
Thanks, Chair. Real quick aside, all I want for Christmas is a shirt that says, I want to be the soldier block to your heart, because that thing is like the workhorse of this park, it sounds like. So like those soldier blocks are definitely little heroes. Thank you for informing us about this, because I now look at them with a different appreciation. I have two questions for you. One is, obviously we know that root issues are major causes to pathway degradation. For trees that we do keep, and this is a question I asked with a little bit of Sally in my heart, what happens to the roots for trees we do keep, but you need to contain the roots to not break up, future pathways, if that's what you do to fix those areas? And my second question is the area when you say the money runs out in Fort Tryon, and that's understandably so, because I think everything beyond that is a massive job. Is that why it's like, if we did that piece of things, we wouldn't have money to do the rest of this? Because that back area to, the pathway of Fort Tryon, like walking by like Liz's apartment, basically up on the hill and all the way down that hill, big runoff. Is that just like a really big job that needs like its own funding? Those are my two questions. Thanks.
Okay, I'll answer the second one first. I'll go back a slide and just show you that, there's Ann Loftus Playground is currently being reconstructed, and we would have a conflict with the pathway there. Oops, sorry.
The one,
So-
that's the one, there's a
No,
short
no,
one coming up
he's-
next to
he's
Amlon.
he's
The one that comes
referring-
around right now.
He's referring to that northernmost, the path that when you're at that overlook where those two benches are, where you said where the money runs out, if you keep on going on that path and you descend, heading away from the river and roughly parallel to Riverside Drive, that's the steep incline that has the underwater streams that have provided an additional challenge with the complete degradation of that surface. It's unrelated. It's before you get to Ann Loftus.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. We looked at it. We originally had it within the scope of work, but in order to be capitally eligible, the pathways have to be as contiguous as possible. And because we had that break, that fell out of this scope to help keep it as contiguous as possible. However, I'm very hopeful that we can come back and do that, hopefully very soon. So the idea, and then I went over this with Jennifer Hoppa, is that we would tackle this while we have the money in place and get as much done as we can. And then we could just hopefully come back in the very near future and tackle that piece and maybe some more. I can't make any promises, but I'm very hopeful. I'll say that. And then going back to your first question about tree root treatment, really what has to be done is you hand excavate as carefully as possible. The Parks Department will have an arborist on site to help observe and direct the contractor to make sure they're working in an appropriate manner. And some roots may be pruned at the direction of the arborist, but otherwise what you would do is excavate laterally, so to either side of the root, and put stone on either side, so that way the root expands horizontally, not vertically. So that's another way to treat those situations. And a third thing that can be done is actually tree root pinning, where you have these large pins that keep hold the root down or in place and prevent it from lifting upwards.
Fascinating. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I was just thinking, couldn't we get rid of all of the trees? I mean, they're just such a hassle. I'm kidding. Joke.
Quoted
Don't
in
quote me on that in the minutes. Okay, Daryl and then Sally.
Yeah, I had two questions. I think it's about the southwest section of Area 1. Was it the picture where, was that Jennifer in? Is that pathway reconstruction also include the steps that lead down to the other part of the path, as well as to the, what did you call them, the step ramps that go to the backside of Linden Terrace? Does it go that whole way?
It includes that pathway, but we're not touching the concrete stair ramps.
Okay, but it does include the staircase.
No, sorry. It includes just the asphalt pathway adjacent to the concrete stair ramps, but we aren't touching the concrete stair ramps.
No, okay, but beyond the stair ramps going forward, I guess, you know, where there's the staircase that goes down.
Oh, yeah, and we're not doing the staircase.
Okay, that's kind of treacherous, but okay. And the other question was about
Separately, we're looking at doing railings, a different project. For that very steep staircase.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I brought a contractor out.
With like narrow, footing. Yeah. And then my other question is about like the Broadway lower side of the path there on the north end. There seems to be, from what I've seen over the years, families of groundhogs. Are you going to be cognizant of, working around them or protecting them in some fashion?
We'll try to protect wildlife at all costs wherever we encounter them. But the contractor is focusing on the pathways, and they won't really be going outside of that.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Never let it be said that the contractor is a bunch of groundhog homewreckers. Sally, before I get to you, we've got a question from a member of the public. Christina Alfonso asks, what is the time frame for the section 1 work?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I think this project would be done after Inwood Hill. So this may be June, July. We're giving it 2 months because there's a little more complexity with the soldier granite block and benches and concrete pads. But this contractor, as I mentioned before, is very efficient, and they may be in and out in just 6 weeks. So, but I should say that's all very dependent on how fast our procurement and contracts unit processes this mobilization.
So this is the same contractor as the one that's doing the previous work?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, Sally.
Yeah, just a quick question. It looks like it's the same mileage in terms of paths being fixed, but the budget is twice that of the Inwood Hill Park work. Is that because of the edging and the tree protection? And I guess related to the tree protection, do we need that same sort of protection in the Inwood Hill Park project?
Oh, we'll have tree protection anywhere it's needed. So,
okay, good.
But the budget is much higher because of the complexity of the granite block edging and the concrete pads and the benches for those pads. So
great. Looks like a great project. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am super excited about this. So before we move on to new old business, it occurs to me, you said the magic words, LPC. So it sounds like you actually do need a resolution on this. Yes?
most likely, yes. Yes, most likely.
Okay, so everybody who's on the committee, you know the drill. Cameras on, please. So I can read the Zoom. Cameras on with your face in the frame, please. So based on the questions and the comments, it's sounding like we like this. I'm not sure what happened to Etta. Did Etta drop off the call? Okay, and Jamirna, are you on the call? Oh, what happened to Jamirna?
She's still here. She's
She's
just on
still
mute.
here, but she's on mute and
Yeah.
video is gone.
Well, that
Jamirna-
doesn't mean she's here. She
Correct.
may have gone out for
Can
coffee.
you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, got her. Great.
Okay, can we get you on video? Great. Okay, so it sounds like so they need a resolution. We've heard this presentation. Before I go into the specifics, just sort of show of hands, smiley, thumbs up, faces, nodding of heads. Do we like this? Do we approve of this?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. You, Jamirna? Okay, so as everybody knows, I loathe group writing exercises. So I would propose that we have a resolution that talks about, gives a little bit of information describing the two parks, generally describing the areas, giving a brief summary of the kind of work that is going to be happening here. We will definitely use the magic phrase of soldier granite edging, just because I love that, and so does Nobles. We'll mention the sources of funding, a little bit of information about the time frames, repeated support for more of this in some of the other areas, like the sort of step, the not formal step thing that Danny referenced in Inwood.
Ramp steps.
The ramp steps, yes. And the nightmare that is that long path adjacent to Riverside Drive in the in Fort Tryon Park, and calling on additional funding or high prioritization for a new project at some point. And thanking the people who have funded this project for this, and recommending that the LPC, noting also that Fort Tryon is a historic park and landmarked park, and calling on the LPC to approve this. Did I miss anything? Okay, sounds like it's unanimous. Fantastic, thank you. As paving reports go, that was super interesting. I love this stuff. I think everybody else
And
does.
incredibly sexy.
Incredibly sexy. Yep, that's why we're on this committee. Okay. We are running a little bit behind, but that was unexpectedly interesting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have at 8:23. We don't have Sarah Balistreri. We have, wait, where'd he go?
I'm here, Nelson Villarubia from Trees, New
Yes,
York.
there you are. There you are, from Trees, New York. So you want to tell us a little bit about what Trees, New York is doing?
Sure.
Fantastic.
So I'll try to run this quickly since you're behind. And if there's something that stands out to you as I go through this, you can just let me know and I'll go back to it.
Thank you so much.
Trees New York is a 45-year-old nonprofit. And basically our mission is to plant and preserve New York City's urban forest. Our signature program is our Citizen Pruner course. Maybe some of you are already citizen pruners. We do this every spring and summer. Spring and fall. Currently, we're teaching the Citizen Pruner course via Zoom. And if you want to get trained and licensed to legally prune street trees, this is the course for you. We go over tree biology, street tree identification, common problems and solutions, and of course, tree stewardship and pruning. As a community board, if there's ever an issue with a constituent about a tree that needs pruning, we have a lot of citizen pruners that live in your community board. And if it's something within the scope of a citizen pruner to do, which is usually a younger, smaller street tree, you could reach out to Trees New York, and we can reach out to our citizen pruners and hopefully take care of that tree that needs to be pruned. Usually it could be like a broken limb that's obstructing pedestrian or vehicular traffic. So we also do outings. So if you know of specific areas that need to be pruned, you can suggest them to us as well. Again, these are younger trees that's within our scope, and we can set up a day to prune trees in your neighborhood and mobilize our local pruners. We also do tree stewardship events where we remove litter and weeds from tree beds. We cultivate the soil, mulch, and water every late spring through early fall. We receive a watering permit to water trees. Oftentimes, we do this with corporate groups. So if you're open to having volunteers come out into your community and do this type of work with us, engaging corporate groups, let us know, especially if there's a street that has a lot of consistently planted younger street trees. That's our priority. So we're always looking for that spaces. So this was a group of accountants that they volunteered over 3 days. We did this with a group in partnership in East Harlem, and over the 3 days, they removed all these litter and weeds and watered the trees. We did about 80 trees in 3 days. And they donated to Trees New York and paid for all the mulch and some flowers and things like that. So if you know of spaces that can do this, let us know. We like to do everything with the invitation by the community or take a community-based approach. So this is why I'm here today, just getting your feedback for spaces like this and your invitation. We also have a pretty substantial tree planting program right now. We do fruit trees, which we're going to be rebooting. So if there's community gardens or spaces that are looking to incorporate fruit tree plantings in their community gardens, we're going to be rebooting that. We have a schools and trees program, which those small spaces that schools have in front, lawn spaces, or maybe they have a garden in the back. We have funding now to plant trees. So we can coordinate that. We also have funding to plant street trees in front of schools and playgrounds. We're especially looking for spaces that maybe have 3 or 4 empty tree beds out in front of a school or a playground. That's our priority places for these type of planting projects. When possible, we try to engage the community so that they can get involved in the planting. But when it comes to street trees, they are large, and a ball and burlap street tree weighs just over 600 pounds. So that does need to be done with a contractor. But if it's in front of a school, we'll invite the students out, like you see here in the picture, to come and watch and learn about a street tree planting. For those of you who are managing park spaces, if you get permissions with the Conservancy, we also do multi-stem and ornamental trees. This is what you're looking at here, some multi-stem and ornamentals that we did on Randall's Island and Governor's Island last year. We did about 61 trees on Governor's Island, and that was a mix of shade trees and ornamental trees. And we can involve the different community groups to get involved in that as well. And we'll come up with a long and short-term maintenance plan. So on our website, you'll see something called the Carol Kelly Street Tree Fund, and you can go on that website, complete the web form, and that's how you can get some of these trees planted in your community space, at least to make a request. These are our large street tree plantings that we're doing. Again, we're looking for spaces where there's multiple street trees in a row, like in front of a school or a playground. And then we follow the permits with the Parks Department to carry out these projects. So if you know of any spaces where you see these continuous empty tree beds in front of these public spaces, let us know. And if it's a potential project site, we can see if we can make it happen. We do a lot of engagement with schools and youth in tree stewardship, working with K through 12. Really, we're prioritizing right now with just limited resource for this program, middle and high school students. But we'll also do after school programs. This is a group of, I think, brownies. And so we get them out in front of their site and we remove litter and weeds, cultivate the soil. And especially in the fall, we like to plant a lot of bulbs in the tree beds to give the students that extra activity. So yeah, we do this project pretty much year round, and we're recruiting schools now for late spring and summer. Another program that we do is our Young Urban Forester Internship program. So every summer we have a paid internship for 7 weeks and introduce urban forestry as a career opportunity. I can send this flyer around in June to your community board, just in case there's students within your group that are interested in applying. It's a paid stipend of 165 hours a week. $165 a week. The internship is 175 hours, 90 of which are doing tree stewardship. The other hours are exploring New York City's open spaces, meeting working professionals, and field trips. Also, if you'd like to see a program like this right in your neighborhood, there is that possibility. We're always looking for a place to host this project, this 7-week internship. So if you know of a church that's willing to open up their basement or a community space for the internship and provide that space either low cost or pro bono or in-kind support, that's how we choose where to host the project. So that's usually one of the most challenges for us, is just finding a host site. So if that's something that someone from your community board knows of, and then we would be able to bring this program to your neighborhood and hire students right from your neighborhood as well. And this program runs from July through late August. Also, Trees New York is a member of a new coalition called Forest for All NYC. For those of you who are really interested in trees, I encourage you to learn more. It's a diverse coalition of over 50 nonprofits, and our mission is to get more trees planted, more trees maintained, and workforce development, creating a master plan for New York City's urban forest. Just creating a real roadmap of how we can mobilize all these different groups and influence policy and funding for New York City's urban forest. So that's it in a nutshell. And I'm glad to take any questions, or you can email me, nelson@treesny.org, and I'd be glad to answer your questions offline as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That was super interesting. Again, if you can email me the slide deck, it'll be a lot easier to crib notes. I could look at the queue to see if anybody has any questions, but I know Sally has a question. And look, there is her hand. So that was super interesting. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nelson. That was great. I speak as a very proud citizen pruner. It's an amazing program for people who haven't looked into it. And also just wanted to reach out about the Young Forester program. I might have a potential site, and we would love to work with you, Friends of Inwood Hill Park, in terms of hosting something like that in Northern Manhattan.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely email me, nelson@treesny.org. The sooner we talk that out, and the more we can make that a possibility.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. I wish I had some clever suggestions on places with free space. That is, always the eternal question. It might be, yeah.
I think I have a site.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that like Inwood Academy, which has a strong environmental bent in their curriculum, might be a possibility. I have no idea if this is something that one of the rec centers would be able to host. But
there's
yeah.
also community space at Holy Trinity Church, and that's what I'm thinking because of its proximity to the park.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he need it year round or just for the summer program?
No, we don't need it year round. It's just for our summer program. So it's basically 7 weeks. And even though the students spend the majority of the time outside, we definitely need a place to meet just in case it rains, a place to cool off when it's hot, and also for all the different classroom lessons that they'll receive. So we usually reach out to different people every year, and so we get to circulate where our program is hosted. So we've been in the Bronx, we've been in Greenpoint, we've been in Sunnyside. Last year we were in Lower Manhattan in Chinatown. So all different. It's a way. Finding the in-kind space is how we kind of rotate the program. And
how many students do you think you'll have?
It's usually anywhere. Our goal is like usually 15 students.
Well, what about the park building at Payson Playground? Why couldn't that be considered, since it's mainly a meetup site and then you take off for the day? The park building at Payson Playground. Why couldn't you approach the Parks Department for that?
Because we need the space for the entire day, whether we're there for it or not, just in case it rains or it's really hot. So it's really like a dedicated classroom space for Monday through Thursday for the 7 weeks.
Yeah, okay, so I would encourage us all to contemplate possible spaces that we might know of and to communicate those directly to Nelson as we think of them. I also there's a question in the chat, but it is completely outside of the there's street trees aren't mandatory. I'm looking at a building on the corner of 108th Street in Columbus, and Google Maps shows no street trees. Do you have a comment? Yes, my comment is I would encourage you to talk to the nice people in Community Board 7, since that has, really nothing to do with CB12. Okay, so it is 8:37. I would like to, I don't think we have any old business. So under new business, oh, Nelson, what is your phone number, by the way?
Sorry, we just changed it, so I'd have to get it for you real quick here.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just give me your phone number and your email.
Sure, it's nelson@treesny.org. And our phone number is 718-701-4463.
And you said nelson@treesny.org.
Correct.
Fantastic. And yeah, and you're going to send me that slide deck?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so seeing no hands up for new business, for old business, under new business, I want to unmute Marco Shalma, who I met when I saw the former chair of this committee, Ziad Ramadan, who introduced me to Marco, who works on night markets, and had some thoughts about possibly doing an event here in Community Board 12. So Marco, you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Of course. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me in this meeting.
Actually, you know what? Hold on a second. I'm going to promote you to a panelist, which is going to give you the Harry Potter-like feeling of disappearing and then coming back, so that we can see you, because it's just a little weird to have a disembodied voice making a presentation. Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
Here I am.
Fantastic.
Hey,
Hi.
everybody. I just want to say that I'm wearing this shirt today, but it wasn't intentional because I'm presenting to the meeting. Is the guy, the guys from Only NY are my friend, but you know what? It's kind of came appropriate, so I'll run with that one. Everybody, good evening. My name is, like Liz said, thank you, Chair. My name is Marco Sharma. I'm the owner of Mass Hospitality Group. We are a company that started about 6 years ago, creating events in the Bronx, in Upper Manhattan, known mostly for our Bronx night market, and as of last year, recently, the Uptown night market underneath the Arches in Harlem. Project that took off pretty quickly, and like you mentioned, Liz, with Ziad, ever since she took over the West Island Development Corporation, that's something that's kind of catapulted our operation into that. In general, our event, we focus on the Uptown community. Our event represent what we think is, in the benefit of our communities. Super diverse event. We are very strong as when it comes to everything, supporting immigrant-owned businesses, female-owned businesses, POC-owned businesses, LGBTQI-owned businesses, and that's something that we've been kind of put on our flags since day one. Especially since that's what we are as a company out of 15 employees. If you take the demographic card, this is where we are. We are working very closely with different organizations in the city. We are an official partner of the City Park Foundation when it comes to like summer stage, official partner of the Botanical Garden, and the Road Runners, And that's predominantly for the way that we do business. Even though we are a for-profit organization, we are very well known around the city and got a great rapport when it comes to like doing business in a conscious kind of way. When the more events we create, and especially with the night market brands that we have, the more we understand how much joy it brings to the community when it comes to thousands of people visiting our events, and local, over 80% are local business owners from the area, from the district of which we're working with. Musician, we usually work with performers and musicians and put a massive stage for that to create like a great environment and a great bond within the community. One of the things that we are doing very, very closely is working with community boards, working with like local organization, whether it's arts organization or whatnot, in order to kind of create something that feels organic to the communities that we work with. The conversation when we met Liz kind of came about, and I was, the area of Fort Tryon came, into conversation, and it's something that I am very excited of exploring and seeing if we can represent something. Chair, can I share a screen? Because I think like I can talk, but I can show something for like a minute. It's going to be better than anything.
Yes, you have the ability as a panelist to share a screen, and if it's short, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's from last year from the Uptown Night Market. Obviously, like the Bronx Night Market has similar kind of vibe to it, but yeah, we do it at Fordham Plaza. I think like overall, what we enjoy the most is to see in our communities of Uptown and the Bronx enjoying themselves, and commerce kind of starts kind of waking up and really kind of thrive. And we would like to explore the opportunity or possibility to do something. It doesn't have to be like a night market brand. We do work with different items like food truck festivals or any other elements, and we can be very flexible with the concept or whatnot. One of the things that's also is unique to us is the aggressive approach to marketing and branding that we have, which is kind of very much focused on social media, online presence, and whatnot. So yeah, I would love if there's any suggestion of possible location or any idea. If you have anybody has any questions to me, more than happy to take it on.
So I actually have a question, but I'm gonna defer to Danny, who said very little. So what you got, Danny?
I just wanted to say that I like that little presentation that you just did. By any chance that you said you work with NYRR, you said, right?
Yeah, we've done pre-pandemic. We've done like the small the qualifiers. So we had like the qualifiers, basically like supply like some of the food over there, and we are working right now, kind of continuing that conversation through EDC and other forces.
Nice. Yeah, I just mentioned it because like I'm part of a run club and I'm the project manager of the run club. So I think maybe like for future events, like we could probably link up and whatnot and talk, because like we're trying to do a lot of community-based like events and stuff like that. Like we actually have an event coming up on March 27 is a free event. It's for Jason Rivera. It's a 5K run from Dykeman and Nagel all the way to the 32nd precinct. I like the kind of stuff that you do, and maybe one day that we could work in the future. And also I like Only New York, so they're good people.
Yeah, they're very good people. Definitely would love to do that. One of the things that we've done in the past also is we had like a bike club with over 100 bikers came over to the night market and they let us know. So we organized a space for them to put the bikes and stuff. And I think it just in general is like I mentioned in early on, is we really are focused on communities. We do the extra work and due diligence of reaching out to community boards, different organizations, churches, building association, all of that to really kind of make sure that the communities that we are working with understand that we are doing something first and foremost for the community, and secondly, to kind of bring some more people from the rest of New York to enjoy what's out there. So, it's something that we've been doing religiously since 2017, and it's been working for us because at the end of the day, the local community feels very welcome. It's done for us. It's made for us predominantly. And then the fact that other people with the marketing campaigns that we do, other people from New York coming, it's just a bonus, an added bonus for the performers to have like a large crowd, for the merchants to have people to come and buy. So all in all, it's something that, and if you ask around, people that work with us will tell you the exact thing, I believe.
Cool. Yeah. If it's possible, Liz, you think we can you can share his email later after the meeting, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the run club that I'm part of is Dykeman Run Club, and you can check them out on Instagram.
Amazing.
I will
Yes.
connect the two of you on email. So my question is sort of a joint, it's a two-part question for you and for Jennifer. There is where you did, I've been to a couple of Bronx Night Market events. The first one that I went to was in the Botanical Gardens. So that's a much more controlled space, and it's their space. And they are their own organization. So, you did whatever you did with them. The space that you were in Harlem is really a unique street closure situation.
Yeah, DOT SAPO kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. So that was a completely different thing. There are a bunch of places here in the community that have had street closures for different fairs, not usually at night. But I'm not sure that most of the places where we've done that sort of thing would necessarily work, particularly at night. I think for the most part, because people don't want to have, some is good, but too much is too much if you actually live there and it's your street that's getting closed. So I don't really see us doing, St. Nicholas Avenue or the area back behind GW High School, which had been just so controversial for so long that I think it's going to be a couple of decades before anybody is ever going to green light a street closure up there. So one area that did occur to me, one area that could possibly be great is if you partner up with, Yeshiva University to use 185th Street, which is a plaza. So it's already a closed street, and it's a pretty significant distance. You obviously would not be able to do it on a Friday night, and frankly, you wouldn't really be able to do it on a Saturday night either, because your setup requirements are such that you couldn't do it on Shabbat. So that is probably only going to work if you are doing it on a weeknight. And I'm happy to connect you with, somebody at Yeshiva. Another possibility is maybe the plaza on 175th Street, which is right next to the United Palace. That's a much, much smaller space, but there is the possibility of closing Wadsworth Avenue, maybe, that's a maybe, and possibly teaming up with the hospital at the Haven Avenue Plaza, which is a much, much larger area. But the area that I was originally thinking of that could be cool and where Jennifer comes in and you know what's happening next is Margaret Corbin Drive. I mean, it's away from residential buildings, depending on when it is. If the new concession in the park isn't open yet, then it's not going to be, messing with their business. If it's at a time of day when the Cloisters is already closed, it's not going to be messing with the museum. It feels to me like it might not work, or it might actually be really great. So thoughts?
No,
I meant Jennifer's thoughts.
Jennifer, right?
Yeah.
We did, the Fort Tryon Park Trust worked with parks last summer and did Wonderful Wednesdays, the first Wednesday night of each summer month. And with the, obviously with the Cloisters blessing, gave them and their visitors the chance to leave the park if they were going by bus or personal car, and then had events and activities, and people were just happy to have a car-free time. I'm not sure that we'd be able to line everything up in time for the summer, but I'd be happy to connect you with citywide special events, because they'd be managing something of that magnitude and all the sort of parameters and the requirements that go along with it. But it could work, yeah. And it could be fun. It could be really fun.
I love it. So just to refer to the earlier part of the conversation here, we do work with plazas, with DOTs. We do work with SAPO. We do work with Parks Department. We actually currently engaging with some of the Holland parks through the park manager Jenna Lasort and then Anthony Sama from the city. So we really are connected in that realm.
Perfect.
And we have a great rapport when it comes to working in that level, Jennifer. So I think even stuff where could be some red tape, we've seen that people, because of they appreciate what we do, helping us find creative solution to move through that. So I think and then like I mentioned, we're very flexible. Even if it was like the yeshiva area, I mean, look, we did Uptown Night Market on Thursday night. Everybody told me you're crazy. It's Thursday night, under the bridge.
Thursdays are great. It's a big
great
party.
day. Wednesday, the one was that Wonderful Wednesdays, you said? Yeah, it's just fantastic. I love Wednesdays. It's just a great kind of day to kind of do some stuff outside. Sundays can work. It's people really are excited about being outside, and they're going to be excited about being outside for the next couple of years, especially after what we've been. So, and we have the ability to be very flexible. Create the great programming and be very flexible.
Mondays, as weird as this will sound, Mondays the museum is closed.
Interesting. Very nice.
So that's one less moving part and a pretty big one. So
I have to say though,
Wonderful Wednesdays, Marvelous Mondays, Broadway is dark, come uptown.
Monday can be great as long as they're not showing The Voice, because I have to be home watching The Voice on Mondays, but no, it's a joke, but I'll DVR. I like this idea. I like this idea because it's just a beautiful continuation to the week, to the weekend. So, like I said, we can be very flexible. We're very confident with our marketing and offering an attractive project that is based in the community. So, we'll get those, we'll get people to come and enjoy themselves. So I think it's a great way to open the conversation, and I'm looking forward to kind of, we can talk to the yeshiva folks, if Jennifer, if you can make that introduction, or whoever however to kind of to continue this conversation, I would love to just explore it furthermore and see what we can do.
I love this. I do want to say that, over the years, we've certainly had less through this committee, more through traffic and transportation, because it's involved street closures or the business development committee. What I like about this event is the reliance on local vendors as opposed to sort of regional cookie cutters, everybody's doing zeppoli, everybody's doing fried dough,
Yeah, no.
everybody's doing, and the festival on, St. Nicholas Avenue looks the same as the festival on Amsterdam Avenue, halfway down the boroughs. So this has a local flavor. And this is not, we did have a presentation, I want to say like a year ago, from another festival promoter that, again, a really great concept, but a little bit different because it was a ticketed admission event, whereas this is, I don't want to say a free event because you have to pay for the things that you buy, but to be there, there isn't a ticket to come. And if you, to the extent that there's entertainment, people aren't paying for that.
Yeah.
People are just paying for the food and beverage that they provide. So this feels like a very different kind of event and much more accessible to the community than other things that we have been presented about.
Thanks. And I'll add to that also that we make sure that all events, there's a price range, anything from $5, $9, $5, $7, $9, $11. And, one of our concepts is that we want to make sure that the $20 goes a long way because we do serve communities uptown and we want to make sure that people can bring their families or whatnot that can enjoy themselves. So that's something that it's very in that conscious mind. But yeah. Thank you for that. It's never admission to get in, reasonable prices, and a full program that we create to support the community. So, and it's we work with local artists like CD Love, Harlem Late Night Jazz, and different groups and DJs from local. So yeah, cool. I'm excited for the possibilities.
That sounds great. I'm going to let Jamirna get the last word.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Marco, I think this is a very cool and fun thing and inclusive thing for the community. And it's key on inclusivity because as you may know, in the community, there's not many events where both sides of the community get to interact Absolutely. And integrate with one another. And I think that's essential.
Absolutely.
And also, when it comes to the summertime, I think that if it's any time in the summertime, you're fine. You're gonna get a lot of attendance just because, more people in the community happen to have more availability. So I am very open and willing to help point out areas that are safe and appropriate to have this sort of event. And it's still pretty early, so we do have some time to take a walk and get a better observation of what are spaces that's appropriate to fit the matter. But thank you, Marco, for
sounds good. Marco, do you mind just giving out your contact information?
Sure. You want me to drop it on somewhere or just?
No, we don't. We don't have the panelists. Okay. We only have the ability to answer people's questions. If you don't mind just shouting it out.
Sure. So my email is marco@mask MASC Hospitality Group, masshospitalitygroup.com. So marco@masshospitalitygroup.com. I'm always on my email. Drop me a line whenever you need, or if you have any idea of location or any suggestion of how we can kind of move forward with that'd be great. Jamirna, I love what you said, and this is exactly why we do what we do. The entire conversation of exclusivity, the way that our vendors represent demographically, which is like 80% of our vendors are female-owned businesses. 70% of our vendors in our community of merchants are people of color. So we do make sure that we have that engagement, and we know who we cater to. This is our community. So yeah, and I would appreciate any kind of suggestion and comments. Thank you.
Just wanted to clarify your email. You said Marco Mask Hospitality Group?
Yep, at Marco, MARCO, at Mask, MASC Hospitality Group.
Oh, okay. I thought mask as in COVID. Okay, gotcha.
Got it.
Thank you.
Hold on, before I queue up for Nobles, I've got a quick question or comment from Steve.
This may be way out, but have you ever used a schoolyard? I'm wondering whether the PS 48 schoolyard right on Broadway might not be a good location.
Schoolyards are very, we've used schoolyard on event where we did not have beer and wine permits. You know, so it doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot do that. If a schoolyard, we can work with them. So yes, I think a schoolyard is a perfect idea if it has a large enough space.
It's a pretty large schoolyard, and it's right smack in the middle of the community.
It's on Broadway, just at like 184th Street. So it's just north of the Staples. It's a pretty substantial schoolyard.
What's the name of the school again?
PS 48. The
Nice.
Michael Busick School.
Nice.
All right, it's 9:02.
Motion to
Nobles?
adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah, can you second? I think someone else has a second.
Sally second.
Sally second.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was a long meeting, but super productive and interesting. I will see you at the next one.
Thanks, y'all.
So
Take it
much.
easy.
Happy International Women's